I, 36-year-old, and my wife, 38-year-old, have been married for 8 years, and we have 2 kids, 7-year-old and 5-year-old. She is a stay-at-home mom in charge of all the housework and childering while I work and cover us financially. Before you start attacking me, hear me out. We ran into a bit of bad luck with debt a few years ago, and as a result, on average I work 50-60-hour weeks to help get us out of it. I am a carpenter, so the days are long, and sometimes I drive quite a bit to get to the work sites. By the time I get home, I am exhausted and pretty much eat then collapse into bed. On Saturdays, I take my son and daughter out to his soccer games, then back home for lunch, while my wife goes to book club, lunch with her friends, then usually some sort of hike or yoga class. She is back by mid-afternoon, at which point she takes back over the kids, and I make dinner, maybe do a bit of laundry and clean the floors. On Sundays, it is reversed. I go out with my friends. By mid-afternoon, I return. We have our babysitter come around, and we spend the night together. Recently, my wife has come to me saying that I need to start doing more around the house. That I need to do more cleaning, organizing, looking after the kids, grocery shopping, cooking. I know that she does a lot, and I am in no way saying she doesn't deserve a break. But I am working really hard too, especially at the moment. I feel like I do the best I can with how much work I'm doing. I know there is a lot in social media right now about men not doing enough at home, but I never thought I was one of those guys. I explained this to her, and she said I was being ridiculous. That I spend all day having fun at work with my workmates, while she deals with the children and all of the house chores. Then I get home and just eat and go to bed. This isn't the plan for forever, but I thought it was going all right for now. Am I the jerk? Did. My son is in school full-time, and my daughter is in daycare 2 days a week, starting school this year. Did. Just adding in my comment, since lots of people are asking, I handle everything to do with my son's sports stuff, aside from driving him to Wednesday practice, since I'm at work. Same with my daughter's swimming lessons. On those Saturdays, I make lists of groceries I think need to be picked up, though admittedly she decides what she wants to cook, so has the final say. I go round and empty the laundry baskets, pick up stuff, and wash, dry, fold them. I make the Saturday dinner, which is my job to plan and put stuff on the list for. I take care of all the bills, car payments, insurance dates. I do ask my wife before I go to bed if she needs anything else done before I crash. Which, yes, I get the mental load thing, but I figured if she needed extra help, she'd ask. Usually she says no. I guess in the mornings, I could start making my son's school lunch while I make mine, and also my daughter's when she starts this year. When she expressed her need for help, it was nothing specific, and when we had this discussion, she did not give me any specific examples. And even if she did, I leave at 5 a.m. and I'm not usually back till 7:30. I get home and shower, eat and put laundry into the machine, unpack my work gear, I play, read, clean up with our kids, and I'm in bed by 8:30. I don't know physically how to find more time to contribute on weekdays. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. When you refer to social media and the Times, I believe this is more aimed at women who work. It happens all the time where women work and make lots of money, who also end up doing more around the house, with the kids, etc. I was in a relationship like this. I was making more than my ex-husband, and he never once loaded a dishwasher or picked up a mop, didn't even clean up after himself. It's not 50-50. However, here, her job is basically taking care of the kid and house. It's a hard job for sure, but you also have a hard job. At the end of the day, I just think things should be 50-50. Your situation seems like it is currently 50-50, but if you start doing more, it's going to sway in her favor. Comment 2. You're not the idiot. I might have said NAH here, because at first, it sounded like you all just needed to renegotiate your expectations. Then it occurred to me, your kids are of school age, and unless she is homeschooling them, her days aren't as arduous as she is making them out to be. Also, she said that I spend all day having fun at work with my workmates while she deals with the children and all of the house chores. Okay, so hire a babysitter to watch the kids, for the time they're not in school, and have your wife job shadow you for a day and see what you're doing at work, because it sounds like she hasn't a clue about what you do all day. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since my last post, and let me tell you, a lot has happened. I thought things were tense before, but this past week has been a whole new level of chaos in our household. After our last big argument, my wife and I decided to sit down and have a serious talk about our responsibilities. She told me that she felt overwhelmed with the housework and taking care of the kids, even though she knows I'm working long hours. I reminded her that I've been trying to do my part on the weekends, but she said it wasn't enough. So, I made a promise to try harder. I started waking up a bit earlier to make my son's school lunch and my daughter's daycare lunch. It was a small change, but I thought it showed I was willing to contribute more. I even managed to squeeze in some grocery shopping on my way home from work one evening, despite the long drive and my exhaustion. But then, things took a turn. On Saturday, after my son's soccer game, I came home to find my wife wasn't there. She had texted me saying she'd be late from her book club, but hours passed and she still wasn't back. I was worried, so I called her friends, and none of them knew where she was. It was unlike her to just disappear without a word. When she finally came home late in the evening, she was acting strange. She wouldn't look me in the eye, and she seemed distant. I asked her what was wrong, but she brushed it off, saying she just needed some time alone. I didn't press further, thinking maybe she was just having a bad day. The next surprise came on Sunday. I was out with my friends, and when I came back, I found my wife in a heated conversation with our babysitter. I could tell something was off, but they both stopped talking as soon as I walked in. The babysitter left quickly, and my wife said it was nothing, just a misunderstanding about the schedule. But then, the real news dropped. A couple of days later, I found a receipt in our car for a fancy hotel in town, dated for that Saturday when my wife was missing. My heart sank. I confronted her about it, and after a long, painful conversation, she admitted she had met someone from her past at the book club, and they had spent the afternoon together at the hotel. I was devastated. I couldn't believe it. All this time, I thought we were working through our issues, but she had been holding on to resentment from our past struggles with debt and my long work hours. She said she felt neglected and that I didn't appreciate all the work she did at home. I remembered the times when we were first married, before the kids and the debt, when we used to be so in love and attentive to each other. It felt like a lifetime ago. I had been so focused on providing for our family that I hadn't noticed how distant we had become. Now, I'm left wondering what to do next. I still love my wife, but the trust between us has been shattered. I'm trying to figure out if we can move past this and rebuild our relationship, or if this is the end of our marriage. And just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, our babysitter sent me a message. She said she needed to talk to me in person about something important. I have a feeling it's related to the conversation I walked in on between her and my wife. Moved in with BF and his mom takes credit for my job, so I confront her and she spreads lies at my work, but after a big fight and apologies, I get a promotion and we talk trust. So I, 23-year-old female, took a huge step last year and moved in with my long-distance relationship partner Alex, 25-year-old male. My biggest focus when we moved into our apartment was securing a job. I had been job hunting and sending in resumes applications as early as a month before moving, but those of you who have been playing the job application game the past couple years or so know how bad the post-pandemic job market is. I ended up finding and getting hired at a place within 6 weeks of moving into mine and Alex's new apartment, which was awesome, but how this came about has become a point of contention. I had originally considered the company I now work for among the places I was applying, but placed it lower on the list given they originally didn't list what they planned to pay, and I considered the commute to be too far to justify the gas. I was also worried it could be a waste of time, as too many businesses are claiming desperate hiring nowadays, but never get back to you. About 3 weeks after moving in, Alex's parents, 65-year-old female and 68-year-old male, stopped by. His mom was upset because she had stopped by the business before coming by and found it partially closed due to short staffing. She told me I should go apply. I told her I had considered and gave her the reasons why I had not yet applied, but decided to do so since it was clear they were actually in need of staff. Within 2 weeks of sending in my application, I was contacted, interviewed, and hired. I ended up learning the pay and the benefits more than justified my commuting time, and I've been happily employed here ever since. The problem is, now Alex's mom talks constantly about how she got me that job. Anytime someone asks about my work in front of her and I respond positively, she reminds me that I should thank her, because without her, I wouldn't be so happy or well paid. She never lets it go. She never fails to bring it up. It has been driving me crazy lately, and while I've asked Alex to speak to her about it, she hasn't pulled back. I had a very long day yesterday, and ended up snapping at her at the dinner table when she brought it up again, saying I just don't thank her enough for getting me that nice job. I told her that she didn't get me my job, I did. She didn't work through my previous jobs, build my skills, or compile my resume for me. She didn't fill out my application, she didn't go to my interview or my training. That was all me. I told her I appreciate that she let me know they were understaffed and renewed my interest in applying, but that the person who gets me my job and my money is me. She isn't happy with me and has called me disrespectful and says I just have no respect for older people. Alex agrees with me that she's been pushing it too far, but wants me to make peace. I don't think I should have to. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She didn't get you the job, but you likely wouldn't have had it if not for her. To that extent, she can take credit, but I think it's a bit classless for her to continue bringing it up. I've been in similar situations where a friend or relative pointed out a job opportunity I'd missed or dismissed, but that's not quite the same as getting a referral or some other advantage. She had no connection to the company, but it sounds like she's referring to you as some sort of nepotism hire. Comment 2. It's not your job to keep the peace. It's your job to have your own boundaries and stick to them. It's his job to manage his mother and keep the peace. You don't owe her anything. You're not responsible for propping up her emotional immaturity. Her need for constant praise is not your problem. Don't back down. Now for the update. Hey Reddit, back again with an update on the whole job and Alex's mom situation. It's been a chaotic week, and I've got to tell you, things have taken a turn I did not see coming. So, after the dinner blow-up, things were tense around the apartment. Alex was trying to play peacemaker, but I was still fuming. I mean, I worked hard to get where I am, and his mom just couldn't let it go. But here's where it gets crazy. Alex's mom, let's call her Linda, decided to drop by my workplace unannounced. Yeah, you heard that right. She came in during one of my shifts, all smiles and waves, telling anyone who'd listen that she was the reason I had this job. I was mortified. My boss, who's a pretty chill guy, pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay. I had to explain the whole situation, and he was surprisingly understanding. He even joked that Linda should be on the payroll with how much she's invested in the company. I thought that was the end of it, but nope. Linda had more up her sleeve. A couple of days later, I found out from a coworker that Linda had been chatting with some of my colleagues during her visit. She'd been spinning this story about how she practically had to beg the company to give me a chance because I was struggling to find work. That's not true at all. I was so embarrassed and angry, I could barely focus. When I got home, I confronted Alex about it. He was shocked. He had no idea his mom had been saying those things. He promised to talk to her, but I could tell he was dreading it. The next day, he sat down with Linda, and, from what he told me, it was a disaster. She accused me of being ungrateful and trying to turn her son against her. Alex tried to defend me, but she was having none of it. Now here's the jaw-dropping moment. Alex's dad, who's usually pretty quiet, called me the next day. He apologized for Linda's behavior and then dropped a bombshell. He confessed that Linda had been feeling useless since retiring and had been looking for ways to feel needed again. Apparently, she saw my job hunt as an opportunity to insert herself into my life and feel important. I was stunned. It all made sense, but it didn't excuse her behavior. Alex's dad asked me to be patient with her, but I was at my limit. I told him I understood where she was coming from, but she needed to back off. The next day at work, Linda showed up again, but this time she came to apologize, in front of everyone. It was awkward, but I could tell she was sincere. She admitted she had been overstepping and promised to stop interfering. I accepted her apology, not just for my sake, but for Alex's and his dad's too. But just when I thought we could all move on, another surprise hit. My boss called me into his office and offered me a promotion. Turns out, he'd been impressed with how I handled the Linda situation and my work ethic. I was flawed. I accepted, of course, and couldn't wait to tell Alex. When I got home, I found Alex waiting with dinner ready. He was proud of me, and we had a great evening celebrating. But as we were cleaning up, he got serious. He admitted that he'd been feeling insecure about our relationship since I moved in, and was worried that I might leave him if I became too independent. I reassured him that my job and my success were not threats to our relationship. We had a long talk about trust and supporting each other's growth. It was a tough conversation, but it brought us closer. My sister kicks us out over my son's mistake, so we leave, but then find out her husband's affair. Partner orchestrated it all to get us gone, and oh boy, do we have plans. My wife and I are parents to our only child, who just turned 3 years old. Last year, we decided not to renew our lease as we couldn't afford the rent increase. My sister and brother-in-law recently bought a house a few years ago, so I approached them in confidence asking for help, just so I can save up enough money for a down payment on a home. We negotiated to stay for a year with no rent, and after that, if things go well, we can hash out a month-to-month plan. She asked for the $20,000 life savings I had to be their down payment to get the basement project started, which would be finished at the same time our lease was up, so we moved in late January. Everything was going very well with the living situation until this past President's Day weekend. My sister and brother-in-law took a trip out of state for the weekend, and we stayed in the basement apartment for the entire time without making a fuss about things. I was coming home from work on Tuesday, and when I got home, I saw my wife sitting on the floor of the living room, still upset, but she recounted what happened. She came home with my son up to the front door. She opened the front door to the alarm going off when my son broke away from her and ran down the driveway towards the street where there was an incoming car. The alarm countdown started, but in that instant, she dropped everything and ran after him. Luckily, the car that was coming was a neighbor across the street who saw what was happening and slowed down. My wife was able to grab my son and bring him inside when the panic alarm started blaring. My sister was able to remotely deactivate the alarm. I felt as long as no one was hurt, it was all right. We pledged to readjust, as all people make mistakes, and left it to bed. It wasn't until Friday that my sister asked to talk to me. She told me that her and my brother-in-law want us out in 6 months and will give back $10,000. I asked why, and they said because we didn't tell them what happened with my son as a liability, the trust was broken, and they had to hear it from 2 neighbors who saw and told them what happened. I was absolutely stunned at the reasoning. I told her it was an isolated incident where no one got hurt, and I didn't think I needed to keep them informed of all the goings-on with my family unless it was something egregious. She said that this incident brings attention to them. My guess is that she thinks it's going to prompt people to report the residents for possibly an illegal apartment. This is speculation because I don't know if they have permits for it or an HOA, but I'm shocked and saddened that they came to this decision after only a month of us being here for what I think is a very frivolous reason. My wife feels like this was her fault, and I assured her it wasn't. I recognize this is their house, and I never made a legally binding agreement to them. I'm Soel, and will have to pick up and move again in 6 months or less. Are we the jerks? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. No idiots here. You should have told her what happened though. Nosy neighbors can be a huge problem, and your sister should not have had to hear about this incident from someone else. At this point, it doesn't matter who is an AH and who isn't. This agreement is no longer working for your sister and brother-in-law, and the terms they've come up with to dissolve the agreement are more than fair. You have 6 months to get a new place, and you're getting $10,000 back. This is clearly not personal. Your sister just realized this isn't going to work. Comment 2. It sounds like it just dawned on them that you guys are a legal liability. They don't want to leave themselves exposed to a lawsuit. And honestly, I know accidents happen, but that could have been a hell of a lot worse. The whole, my baby just ran into the street, no biggie reaction, is a bad look. You and your wife are not H in any big way, but your sister even less so. Now for the update. Hey everyone, back with an update on the situation with my sister and brother-in-law kicking us out. Things have taken a hectic turn, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. So, after my sister dropped the bomb on us about wanting us out, I started digging a little deeper. I remembered how my brother-in-law had been acting a bit off since we moved in. He was always a quiet guy, but this was different. He avoided me, didn't engage in conversation, and seemed tense whenever we were in the same room. I thought it was just him being uncomfortable with the new living situation, but boy was I wrong. Turns out, my brother-in-law has been having an affair with our neighbor, the same one who slowed down the car when my son ran towards the street. I found out because I overheard a phone call he made in the garage, thinking no one was around. He was talking to someone about how he needed to clean up the mess, and how they can't find out about us. I confronted him, and after some denial, he confessed everything. The affair had been going on for months, even before we moved in. The neighbor, let's call her Jane, was the one who convinced my brother-in-law that my family was a liability. She didn't like the idea of us living so close, and with the incident with my son, she saw an opportunity to push us out. Jane had been feeding my sister lies about us, making it seem like we were the problem, when in reality, it was all to cover up their secret. My sister was devastated when I told her. She had no idea about the affair and had trusted Jane as a close friend. The betrayal hit her hard, and she apologized to us for jumping to conclusions and for the way she treated us. She was embarrassed and angry, and I felt bad for her, despite everything. But the drama didn't stop there. My wife, who had been feeling guilty this whole time, was now furious. She had been blaming herself for us getting kicked out, and now that we knew the truth, she was ready to confront Jane. I had to hold her back from marching over to Jane's house and giving her a piece of her mind. In the midst of all this, my brother-in-law was begging for forgiveness from my sister. He promised to end things with Jane and to go to counseling, but my sister was unsure if she could ever trust him again. Their marriage was on the rocks, and it was painful to watch. As for us, my sister insisted that we stay and didn't have to move out. She even offered to return the full $20,000 we gave them for the basement project. But after all the chaos, my wife and I decided it was best to find our own place. We couldn't live in a house with so much tension and betrayal. We've been looking for a new place to live, and it's been stressful, but we're managing. My sister and brother-in-law are trying to work things out, but it's a long road ahead for them. As for Jane, she's pretty much the neighborhood pariah now. Other neighbors have started to distance themselves from her after the affair came to light. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.